Yashar, Jasher, chapter 79. And in those days Mosheh was feeding the flock of Reuel the Midianite, his father-in-law, beyond the wilderness of Sin, and the rod which he took from his father-in-law was in his hand. And it came to be one day that a kid of goats strayed from the flock, and Mosheh pursued it, and it came to the mountain of Elohim, to Horeb. And when he came to Horeb, Yahweh appeared there to him in the bush, and he found the bush burning with fire, but the fire had no power over the bush to consume it. And Mosheh was greatly astonished at this sight, why the bush was not consumed, and he approached to see this mighty matter. And Yahweh called to Mosheh out of the fire, and commanded him to go down to Mitzrayim, to Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, to send the children of Israel from his service. And Yahweh said to Mosheh, Go, return to Mitzrayim, for all those men who sought your life are dead, and you shall speak to Pharaoh to send out the children of Israel from his land. And Yahweh showed him signs and wonders to do in Mitzrayim before the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of his subjects, in order that they might believe that Yahweh had sent him. And Mosheh listened to all that Yahweh had commanded him, and he returned to his father-in-law and told him the matter. And Reuel said to him, Go in peace. And Mosheh rose up to go to Mitzrayim, and he took his wife and sons with him. And he was at an inn on the way, and a messenger of Elohim came down and sought an occasion against him, and he wanted to kill him for the sake of his firstborn son, because he had not circumcised him, and had transgressed the covenant which Yahweh had made with Abraham. For Mosheh had listened to the words of his father-in-law which he had spoken to him, not to circumcise his firstborn, therefore he did not circumcise him. And Zipporah saw the messenger of Yahweh seeking an occasion against Mosheh, and she knew that this matter was because he had not circumcised her son Gershom. And Zipporah hurried and took of the sharp stones that were there, and she circumcised her son, and delivered her husband and her son from the hand of the messenger of Yahweh. And Aharon, son of Amram, the brother of Mosheh, was in Mitzrayim walking at the riverside on that day. And Yahweh appeared to him in that place, and he said to him, Go now toward Mosheh in the wilderness. And he went and met him at the mountain of Elohim, and he kissed him. And Aharon lifted up his eyes, and saw Zipporah, the wife of Mosheh, and her children. And he said to Mosheh, Who are these to you? And Mosheh said to him, They are my wife and sons, which Elohim gave to me in Midian. But the matter grieved Aharon for the sake of the woman and her children. And Aharon said to Mosheh, Send the woman and her children away, that they may go to her father's house. And Mosheh listened to the words of Aharon, and did so. And Zipporah returned with her children, and they went to the house of Reuel, and remained there until the time arrived when Yahweh had visited his people, and brought them out from Mitzrayim from the hand of Pharaoh. And Mosheh and Aharon came to Mitzrayim, to the community of the children of Israel, and they spoke to them all the words of Yahweh. And the people rejoiced an exceedingly great rejoicing. And Mosheh and Aharon rose early on the next day, and they went to the house of Pharaoh, and they took in their hands the rod of Elohim. And when they came to the sovereign's gate, 2 young lions were confined there with iron instruments, and no person went out or came in from before them, unless those whom the sovereign ordered to come, when the practicers of witchcraft came and withdrew the lions by their spells, and thus brought them to the sovereign. And Mosheh hastened and lifted up the rod upon the lions, and he loosed them, and Mosheh and Aharon came into the sovereign's house. The lions also came with them in joy, and they followed them and rejoiced, as a dog rejoices over his master when he comes from the field. And when Pharaoh saw this matter, he was astonished at it, and he was greatly afraid at the report, for their appearance was like the appearance of the children of Elohim. And Pharaoh said to Mosheh, What do you require? And they answered him, saying, Yahweh, Elohim of the Ivrim, has sent us to you to say, Send out my people that they may serve me. And when Pharaoh heard their words, he was greatly afraid before them, and he said to them, Go today and come back to me tomorrow. And they did according to the word of the sovereign. And when they had gone, Pharaoh sent for Balaam the magician, and to Yochanan and Mamre his sons, and to all the magicians and practicers of witchcraft and counselors which belonged to the sovereign. And they all came and sat before the sovereign. And the sovereign told them all the words which Mosheh and his brother Aharon had spoken to him. And the magician said to the sovereign, "But how did the men come to you? Because of the lions which were confined at the gate." And the sovereign said, "Because they lifted up their rod against the lions and loosed them and came to me, and the lions also rejoiced at them as a dog rejoices to meet his master." And Balaam, son of Beor, the magician, answered the sovereign, saying, "These are none else than magicians like ourselves. Now therefore send for them and let them come, and we will try them." And the sovereign did so. And in the morning Pharaoh sent for Mosheh and Aharon to come before the sovereign. And they took the rod of Elohim and came to the sovereign and spoke to him, saying, "Thus said Yahweh, Elohim of the Ivrim, send my people that they may serve me." And the sovereign said to them, "But who will believe you that you are the messengers of Elohim, and that you come to me by his order? Now therefore give a wonder or sign in this matter, and then the words which you speak will be believed." And Aharon hastened and threw the rod out of his hand before Pharaoh and before his servants, and the rod turned into a serpent. And the sorcerers saw this, and each man cast his rod upon the ground, and they became serpents. And the serpent of Aharon's rod lifted up its head and opened its mouth to swallow the rods of the magicians. And Balaam the magician answered and said, "This matter has been done from the days of old, that a serpent should swallow its kind, and that living creatures devour each other. Now therefore restore it to a rod as it was at first, and we will also restore our rods as they were at first. And if your rod shall swallow our rods, then we shall know that the Ruach of Elohim is in you. But if not, you are only a practicer of witchcraft like ourselves." And Aharon hastened and stretched out his hand and caught hold of the serpent's tail, and it became a rod in his hand. And the sorcerers did likewise with their rods, and they got hold, each man of the tail of his serpent, and they became rods as at first. And when they were restored to rods, the rod of Aharon swallowed up their rods. And when the sovereign saw this matter, he ordered the book of records that related to the sovereigns of Mitzrayim to be brought. And they brought the book of records, the chronicles of the sovereigns of Mitzrayim, in which all the idols of Mitzrayim were inscribed, for they thought of finding the name of Yahweh in it, but they did not find it. And Pharaoh said to Mosheh and Aharon, "Look, I have not found the name of your Elohim written in this book. In his name I do not know." And the counselors and wise men answered the sovereign, "We have heard that the Elohim of the Ivrim is a son of the wise, the son of ancient sovereigns." And Pharaoh turned to Mosheh and Aharon and said to them, "I do not know Yahweh, whom you have declared, neither will I send his people." And they answered and said to the sovereign, "Yahweh, Elohim of mighty ones is his name, and he proclaimed his name over us from the days of our ancestors, and sent us, saying, Go to Pharaoh and say to him, Send my people, that they may serve me. Now therefore send us, that we may take a journey for 3 days in the wilderness, and there may slaughter to him. For from the days of our going down to Mitzrayim, he has not taken from our hands either burnt offering, grain offering, or slaughter offering. And if you will not send us, his wrath will be kindled against you, and he will smite Mitzrayim either with the plague or with the sword." And Pharaoh said to them, "Tell me now his power and his might." And they said to him, "He created the Shamayim and the earth, the seas and all their fish. He formed the light, created the darkness, caused rain upon the earth and watered it, and made the plants and grass to sprout. He created man and beast and the animals of the forest, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, and by his mouth they live and die. Indeed, he created you in your mother's womb, and put into you the breath of life, and raised you and placed you on the royal throne of Mitzrayim. And he will take your breath and being from you, and return you to the ground from where you were taken." And the wrath of the sovereign was kindled at their words, and he said to them, But who among all the mighty ones of nations can do this? My river is my own, and I have made it for myself. And he drove them from him, and he ordered the labor upon Israel to be more severe than it was yesterday and before. And Mosheh and Aaron went out from the sovereign's presence, and they saw the children of Israel in an evil condition, for the taskmasters had made their labor exceedingly heavy. And Mosheh returned to Yahweh and said, Why have you mistreated your people? For since I came to speak to Pharaoh what you sent me for, he has exceedingly abused the children of Israel. And Yahweh said to Mosheh, Look, you will see that with an outstretched hand and heavy plagues, Pharaoh will send the children of Israel from his land. And Mosheh and Aaron dwelt among their brothers, the children of Israel, in Mitzrayim. And as for the children of Israel, the Mitzrites embittered their lives with the heavy work which they imposed on them. Yashar, Jasher, chapter 80. And at the end of 2 years, Yahweh again sent Mosheh to Pharaoh to bring out the children of Israel and to send them out of the land of Mitzrayim. And Mosheh went and came to the house of Pharaoh, and he spoke to him the words of Yahweh who had sent him. But Pharaoh would not listen to the voice of Yahweh, and Elohim moved his might in Mitzrayim upon Pharaoh and his subjects. And Elohim smote Pharaoh and his people with very great and lasting plagues. And Yahweh sent by the hand of Aaron and turned all the waters of Mitzrayim into blood, with all their streams and rivers. And when a Mitzrite came to drink and draw water, he looked into his pitcher, and see, all the water was turned into blood. And when he came to drink from his cup, the water in the cup became blood. And when a woman kneaded her dough and cooked her food, their appearance was turned to that of blood. And Yahweh sent again and caused all their waters to bring forth frogs, and all the frogs came into the houses of the Mitzrites. And when the Mitzrites drank, their bellies were filled with frogs, and they writhed in their bellies as they wriggle when in the river. And all their drinking water and cooking water turned to frogs. Also when they lay in their beds, their perspiration bred frogs. Nevertheless, the wrath of Yahweh did not turn from them, and his hand was outstretched against all the Mitzrites to smite them with every heavy plague. And he sent and smote their dust to lice, and the lice became in Mitzrayim to the height of 2 amah on the earth. The lice were also very numerous, on the flesh of man and beast, on all the inhabitants of Mitzrayim. On the sovereign and sovereigness Yahweh also sent the lice, and it grieved Mitzrayim exceedingly because of the lice. Nevertheless, the wrath of Yahweh did not turn away, and his hand was still outstretched over Mitzrayim. And Yahweh sent all kinds of creatures of the field into Mitzrayim, and they came and destroyed all Mitzrayim, man and beast, and trees, and all matters that were in Mitzrayim. And Yahweh sent fiery serpents, scorpions, mice, weasels, toads, together with others creeping in dust, flies, hornets, fleas, bugs, and gnats, each swarm according to its kind. And all reptiles and winged creatures according to their kind came to Mitzrayim, and grieved the Mitzrites exceedingly. And the fleas and flies came into the eyes and ears of the Mitzrites, and the hornet came upon them and drove them away, and they turned back from it into their inner rooms, and it pursued them. And when the Mitzrites hid themselves because of the swarm of creatures, they locked their doors after them, and Elohim ordered the Sulanuth, which was in the sea, to come up and go into Mitzrayim. And it had long arms, 10 amah in length, of the amah of a man. And it went on the roofs, and uncovered the rafters and flooring, and cut them, and stretched out its arm into the house, and removed the lock and the bolt, and opened the houses of Mitzrayim. Afterward the swarm of creatures came into the houses of Mitzrayim, and the swarm of creatures destroyed the Mitzrites, and it grieved them exceedingly. Nevertheless, the wrath of Yahweh did not turn away from the Mitzrites, and his hand was still outstretched against them. And Elohim sent the pestilence, and the pestilence filled Mitzrayim, on the horses and donkeys, and on the camels, on herds of oxen and sheep, and on man. And when the Mitzrites rose early in the morning to take their cattle to pasture, they found all their cattle dead. And there remained of the cattle of the Mitzrites only 1 in 10, but of the cattle belonging to Yisrael and Goshen, not one died. And Elohim sent a burning inflammation in the flesh of the Mitzrites, which burst their skins, and it became a severe itch on all the Mitzrites from the soles of their feet to the crowns of their heads. And many boils were in their flesh, so that their flesh wasted away until they became rotten and putrid. Nevertheless, the wrath of Yahweh did not turn away, and his hand was still outstretched over all Mitzrayim. And Yahweh sent a very heavy hail, which smote their vines and broke their fruit trees and dried them up so that they fell on them. Also every green plant became dry and perished, for a mingling fire fell in the midst of the hail. Therefore the hail and the fire consumed all matters. Also men and beasts that were found around about perished from the flames of fire and from the hail, and all the young lions were exhausted. And Yahweh sent and brought numerous locusts into Mitzrayim, the consuming locust, destroying locust, cricket, and grasshopper, locusts each of its kind, which devoured all that the hail had left remaining. Then the Mitzrites rejoiced at the locusts, although they consumed the produce of the field, and they caught them in great amount and salted them for food. And Yahweh turned a mighty wind of the sea, which took away all the locusts, even those that were salted, and threw them into the sea of reeds. Not one locust remained within the borders of Mitzrayim. And Elohim sent darkness upon Mitzrayim, so that the whole land of Mitzrayim and Pathros became dark for 3 days, so that a man could not see his hand when he lifted it to his mouth. At that time, many of the people of Israel died who had rebelled against Yahweh, and who would not listen to Mosheh and Aaron, and did not believe them that Elohim had sent them, and who had said, "We will not go out from Mitzrayim, lest we perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness," and who would not listen to the voice of Mosheh. And Yahweh plagued them in the 3 days of darkness, and the Israelites buried them in those days, without the Mitzrites knowing of them or rejoicing over them. And the darkness was very great in Mitzrayim for 3 days, and any person who was standing when the darkness came remained standing in his place. And he that was sitting remained sitting, and he that was lying continued lying in the same state, and he that was walking remained sitting on the ground in the same spot. And this matter came to pass on all the Mitzrites, until the darkness had passed away. And the days of darkness passed, and Yahweh sent Mosheh and Aaron to the children of Israel. "Celebrate your festival and perform your Pesach, for see, I come in the midst of the night among all the Mitzrites, and I will smite all their firstborn, from the firstborn of a man to the firstborn of a beast, and when I see your Pesach, I will pass over you." And the children of Israel did according to all that Yahweh had commanded Mosheh and Aaron. Thus did they on that night. And it came to be in the middle of the night that Yahweh went out in the midst of Mitzrayim, and smote all the firstborn of the Mitzrites, from the firstborn of man to the firstborn of beast. And Pharaoh rose up at the night, he and all his servants and all the Mitzrites, and there was a great cry throughout Mitzrayim on that night, for there was not a house in which there was not a dead one. Also the likenesses of the firstborn of Mitzrayim, which were carved in the walls on their houses, were destroyed and fell to the ground. Even the bones of their firstborn who had died before this, and whom they had buried in their houses, were raked up by the dogs of Mitzrayim on that night, and dragged before the Mitzrites, and thrown before them. And all the Mitzrites saw this evil which had suddenly come upon them, and all the Mitzrites cried out with a loud voice. And all the clans of Mitzrayim wept on that night, each man for his son, and each man for his daughter, being the firstborn. And the tumult of Mitzrayim was heard at a distance on that night. And Bathia, the daughter of Pharaoh, went out with the sovereign on that night to seek Mosheh and Aaron in their houses. And they found them in their houses, eating and drinking and rejoicing with all Yisrael. And Bathia said to Mosheh, "Is this the reward for the good which I have done to you, who raised you and stretched you out? But you have brought this evil upon me and my father's house." And Mosheh said to her, "Indeed, Yahweh brought 10 plagues on Mitzrayim. Did any evil increase upon you from any of them? Did one of them affect you?" And she said, "No." And Mosheh said to her, "Although you are the firstborn to your mother, you shall not die, and no evil shall reach you in the midst of Mitzrayim." And she said, What advantage is it to me when I see the sovereign, my brother, and all his household and subjects in this evil, whose firstborn perish with all the firstborn of Mitzrayim? And Mosheh said to her, Indeed, your brother and his household and subjects, the clans of Mitzrayim, would not listen to the words of Yahweh, therefore this evil came upon them. And Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, approached Mosheh and Aharon and some of the children of Yisrael who were with him in that place, and he prayed to them, saying, Rise up and take your brothers, all the children of Yisrael who are in the land, with their sheep and oxen and all belonging to them. They shall leave nothing remaining. Only pray for me to Yahweh your Elohim. And Mosheh said to Pharaoh, See, though you are your mother's firstborn, only do not fear, for you will not die. For Yahweh has commanded that you shall live, in order to show you his great might and strong outstretched arm. And Pharaoh ordered the children of Yisrael to be sent away, and all the Mitzrites strengthened themselves to send them, for they said, We are all perishing. And all the Mitzrites sent the Israelites out with great riches, sheep and oxen and valuables, according to the oath of Yahweh between him and our father Abraham. And the children of Yisrael delayed going out at night, and when the Mitzrites came to them to bring them out, they said to them, Are we thieves that we should go out at night? And the children of Yisrael asked of the Mitzrites vessels of silver and vessels of gold and garments, and the children of Yisrael plundered the Mitzrites. And Mosheh hastened and rose up and went to the river of Mitzrayim, and brought up from there the coffin of Yosef, and took it with him. The children of Yisrael also brought up each man his father's coffin with him, and each man the coffins of his tribe.